Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday morning trading room. The market's just opened up. In fact, here's the opening bell. I got a new bell for my bike. All right, let's take a look here what's going on with the NASDAQ. Oh, and Tom's in the room this morning. Tom, you sent me an email yesterday, so let's take a look here on the Raptor, and we can see what's been going on in the overnight. And you can see not very much. Big rally up. Market topped out at 45.46. That was pretty substantial, actually. And then here they are making the screaming move lower. So the market opened, well, more or less where it left off yesterday. Opened a little bit higher. It looks like technically we opened around, what is that, about 45, 27, 28, 29, somewhere in there. And Oh dear, is that better? I'm sorry, we've got all kinds of technical difficulties this morning. All right. Shoot. I just did that great explanation and I have a feeling nobody heard it. All right. Well, let me just take a look at what's going on with the market right now. No, we're not missing anything. The NQ is still going sideways. All right. We'll do it again. And we'll see. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Every once in a while, I don't know what it is, the software seizes and the screen sharing and whatnot doesn't work. All right, so I'm going to start over. Tom was asking me via an email if I could go over the signals that occurred after we closed out our room the other day. So we closed out the room right about here. And the first signal that generated after that was this one right here. This is our trend change signal. All right, so here we have our trend change signal. And the trend change signal is always preceded by a retest of the high, or a test of the extreme, as I like to say. That tells us that this is our opportunity to short the market, and our first target is always the hard edge. So had we sold the market right here, you could have taken some profit here. You could have even taken all profit here. However, these trend change signals, especially when they have the proper setup, tend to go a long ways. So you may want to try to run out part of the position on that, in which case you would have been able to run the market a little bit lower. You produced another signal here. Now this is technically not a cloud crossover signal because the clouds are just beginning to cross. However, you may have considered shorting it based on the lower highs that we're making. But this is the better signal right here, the soft edge sell, and you can see the market went down, and then we hit the lows of the day where prices promptly stalled. So when you started this signal, your stops should have been up here. And then when you got this reaction, you could have rolled your stops down here. And then as you began to accumulate more profit, and certainly when you got back to the lows of the morning, and you see these bars here with these tall wicks, you probably want to start rolling your stops down there, or even better, maybe after some of these reversal bars, you could even consider tightening them. But at any rate, you would have been stopped out on that reversal. So not a bad little move to the downside there. Then we come back and we're producing a buy signal. Now this technically turned out to be a soft edge buy signal, although at the time it would have been impossible to take because I would be looking for a retest of the low. We don't have a retest of the low. From here it goes a little higher. Now I'd be expecting a cloud crossover signal. So I would actually be expecting the market to come back into the cloud, find some sort of support, and come out with a buy signal. We didn't get it. It tried, but the market went pretty much sideways and then produced a with trend signal. Now this one is worth taking. The problem is, where do we cover the trade, right? So you would enter on the hash mark. You would still expect a cloud crossover. So at the very least, you want your stops below the cloud. And the reason is, if the market starts retreating, it's going to come into the cloud, try to find some support, and then continue higher. But as it turned out, the market just went straight up and then started to reverse. I would be expecting a hard edge bounce at this point. I would expect the market to come in, tag the hard edge, and then perhaps move higher. But it ended up producing another soft edge sell. This one, a lot more difficult to take. It was more obvious in hindsight, but you can see it's not nearly as pretty as this one back here. This one had a much better structure to it. It turns out that this bar right here was our retest of the high, but as I said, that was not obvious. When this signal was producing, I would still expect the market to come up here, retest, and then come back down again. Or perhaps even come into the hard edge. Because it doesn't look like we have a good retest of the high, come into the hard edge and then react and head higher for our retest. That would actually give me a buying opportunity. But it turned out that the market continued to drift, that in fact this was the retest. And I suspect part of the reason the retest was so weak was because the signal was generating only about 20 or 30 minutes before the close. So before the NASDAQ session was entirely over, we produced a very weak signal. I would not take that signal just because it's so close to the close of the session. And you can see by the width of these bars, a lot of the traders got out of here just before the closing bell. All right, so it ended up hitting the hard edge, which would be our target again, and then here's the overnight. Got a little bit of a rally, the hard edge bounce, a little bit of a rally up, and here we are dead flat again. So we're producing a whole lot of warning dots. This is rare. This is very rare. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen this many warning dots print on the Raptor without a signal. We should have produced a soft edge sell signal somewhere through here, but even at that, I wouldn't have taken it because the failure, there's no test of the high, right? There's no retest of the high. How can I determine which way the market might go from here? And so this morning, just dead flat sideways. Producing a warning dot. We may come out here with a sell signal. Because technically it would be a cloud crossover. But really there's no structure to the trade. It may work out. It would be one of those, let's test the water type trades. But no real structure. Here's the hawk. And we're producing a 4-arrow consolidation. In fact, here's the fourth signal right here. But rather than take it on the hash mark, I would take it below the lows because we've got this teeny tiny sideways channel, and I would have to cover the trade way up here. So technically, yes, it is a 4-arrow consolidation, but shoot, folks, you got to take into consideration the whole left side of the chart here. Look at what happened last time prices got down to this level. Boom, up 20 points. Certainly, I don't think I'd take it and cover it right here. I would have to cover it right about there. And even at that, that's a real head scratcher, that one. I don't know. This is just terrible. Yes, this is a macro pullback. Yes, it is a high probability signal. Logistics-wise, you could take it earlier, right? Because to enter here, see where my entry was down here? You could already have your profit objective before I even get my entry. All right, so let's play this 4-arrow consolidation. I don't recommend this as a signal. It may well work out. It's just a very ugly signal. And let's see, is the Raptor producing a signal too? Nope, not yet. See, if we're in a trading range, if we're in a sideways session today, There's a reasonable amount of room here to get a profit, but we certainly don't want to be selling down here. This is going to be the bottom end of the range. I guess in the mornings I'd better start checking, make sure the audio and video is working before I go into my spiel, my routine. All right, so now our 4-arrow consolidation is voided. We have 5 arrows, we have a macro pullback, we have no follow through. There is no such thing as a 6-arrow consolidation. Again, it may well work out, but it's not a signal. Not a signal that we can take with any confidence. In fact, I don't show you this very often because I don't want you finding counter trend signals, but you could buy the failure of this macro pullback signal. We'll see if they give us another macro pullback signal here, and I'll show you what I mean. Technically, the counter trend signal is the failure of any with trend signal. The only reason we only do it on the red bar buy and green bar sell is because they tend to be the weakest signals. But here's a first micro macro cross signal. Oh, here, actually, let's use this one. It's a slightly better example. Here's a first micro macro cross signal. Normally, we take those with trend, right? Because we know it's a high probability signal with trend. However, you could set up to buy the failure of the sell signal. And in this case, it would have worked out for you just fine. The reason we don't do that is because more often than not, when you get your first micro macro cross signal, if you set up to buy the failure all the time of the sell signal, you're going to miss your trade, right? Because the market's going to end up going the opposite direction. Most times that signal does not fail. Now, when we're looking at things like green bar sell signals, those do tend to fail a little bit more often. So we can look at buying the failure of those, and you can see sometimes they can have some very good follow through. But here's another first micro macro cross that technically you could sell instead of buying, but if you did, of course, you would miss that rally higher. So that's why I don't point out those counter trend opportunities to you. However, here we had a macro pullback and a 4-arrow consolidation, and there was no follow through. You could have considered buying the failure of that sell signal. And then the market went up, and it went up at least enough to find your scalp target. So here we are now with a green bar sell. Now the green bar sell, of course, we can take with trend, or once the signal produces, we can look to buy the failure. Okay, there's the signal. I can now look to buy the failure if this signal does not actually head lower and reverses and head higher. I can look to buy it. In a market like today, you could also just use it as an early warning because the market has no direction today. You could look at it as an early warning and say, all right, if this market unwinds and is going to head higher, I'm going to produce a first micro macro cross signal, which it almost always does. So here we had a green bar sell back here. Okay, we got a green bar sell right here. A few bars later, first micro macro cross. Yes, there's a couple of ticks in here difference, a couple points, but really, did it matter? You're not going to get everything out of the market anyhow. So to give up a few ticks for a higher probability signal does not seem like a bad trade to me. All right, well, here's El Raptor, and we've got kind of an itty-bitty retest going on right here. So price is heading higher. Technically, this is a soft edge buy signal, but it also looks a whole lot like a cloud crossover because, well, the market's just so quiet. So what you could do is you could look to buy above this little high right here. If we come back with a sell signal, we could look to sell. Again, this is very early. In fact, you might want to consider just going with a single contract. Let's do that. We'll throw a single in here just for a runner. If it goes, great. If not, well, no harm, no foul, right? This one is a little bit easier to stomach on the buy side because we can place our stops right below here. Oh, thanks, Jim. Jim says the advanced decline, it started at around, wow, started at 1530 on the buy and about 860 on the sell. Then it jumped up to 1650 on the buy and 1000 on the sell. And that's more or less where we're at now. It declined a little bit, 1600 on the buy and just under 1100 on the sell. So even though the difference between those two is technically quite bullish, the market still seems to be pretty bearish or neutral. All right, let's see if we're getting any other signals here. Here now on the Eagle, we are getting a red bar buy signal, which tends to be a high probability signal. This is very similar to what we're looking at on the Raptor, where we're able to cover the trade below here. I would probably recommend trying to cover it a little bit deeper still. If this market is in wandering mode, you're going to want to cover it as deep as you can. Can I cover down there? Nope, cannot. So I'll cover, okay, I can cover to there. It's not an attractive trade. And here we are now on the Falcon trying to produce a trend change signal. Speaking of counter trend signals, this is a double dot buy signal on the Falcon. Again, I don't point it out very often because it is counter trend and I don't want you spending all your time looking for counter trend signals. You'll always do better looking for with trend signals. But this is a double dot signal. It occurs when the market prints at least two dots back to back or maybe with one bar in between. And then it produces a buy signal. The double dot signals, however, you need to tie back into the history of the chart. So you could look back into the chart and you could say, ooh, last time we hit this price level, this was the result. So we would be hoping that this time it would have a similar result, that prices would rally. But they are not. Not at the moment. Just looking to see here what's holding the market back. See if there's any news or anything going on. I don't see anything significant there. What about tomorrow? No, nothing really crazy. Yeah, I can't see anything that would be holding the market back like this. Oh well, that's how it goes. That's trading for you. Welcome to the exciting world of trading. Some days, well, I guess the market is just very happy where it is, around the 45.30 mark. So given this little hiccup that we're seeing across the board, you can bet we're not the only ones looking to buy at this particular price. Crude equally as dismal, as is gold. My goodness, nothing is moving today. This is almost like an FOMC day. First micro macro cross going on here in gold. Technically all the pieces are there, not giving me a warm fuzzy feeling. I'll show you why in a sec. We've got the big move up here, and then this current move seems very much like a bull flag to me, right? So you could get the reversal, the market moving higher, which is why I tried to set up the trade with the stops well above the high, or at least above the high. But like I said, it is a first micro macro cross. It is technically a high probability trade. Ooh, I could cover it right there. I've also doubled my profit target on gold. This would be an easier trade to stomach with the regular profit objective. And it would be great if this one got into yellow bars. Saved me all kinds of decision-making pain. Now we're into a macro pullback signal. Oh, hooray. There's the yellow bar. So the yellow bar takes the heat off of trying to decide whether or not that's going to be a worthwhile signal to take. So we'll put crude oil away. All right, here come the buyers. going to give it a poke. Oh my gosh. No, they're not. No, they're not going to give it a poke. Look at the volume on some of these bars. With our dynamic equivolume bars, you can tell the volume just by looking at the chart. 8,800 on that one, 8,850, and 10,000 on this bar right down there. How many on the resistance side? Oh, only 975. Now that doesn't mean that because this bar has 8,800, that the market's going to plow through this bar because there's only 1,000 on this one. Out of these 8,800 contracts, we're assuming most of them were buyers because the market finished, or the bar finished bullish. But we honestly don't know how many of those were buying and how many were selling. Just that there was a lot of price interest in this 45.30-ish price. All right, if we get filled, that's where the stops should go. What I'm concerned about here is they're going to tag it and then reverse. That this will, instead of becoming a soft edge buy, it's actually going to be a hard edge bounce from the cloud crossover, and prices will head lower. That's why this is not a very attractive signal. I'm showing it to you, but I don't have a whole lot of confidence in it. In fact, I would much rather see the market honor this as a cloud crossover. If it came out of here with a sell signal now, I would be all over that. That would be a much better looking trade to me. Well, they're holding so far. Technically a first micro macro cross signal here on the hawk, or the warning dots anyways, for first micro macro cross. For the sake of a couple of ticks though, I think I would leave my entry where it is. Boy, this is like trading in slow motion. It's funny you should say that, Jim. I was just thinking that as well. Jim says summertime pace. This doesn't usually occur until the kids are out of school and people start taking summer holidays. And even for summertime, this is slow. Oh my gosh, this is slow. Yeah, Mo says has to break 45.32 to go higher. I would agree with that. That's where the obvious selling is. That's where we're going to look to trap some traders. However, and we're getting another signal here on the Falcon, so we have the trifecta, so to speak. The problem is we have all this selling to consider, right? So a breakout above 45.32, yes, that is a legitimate buy signal, but is it going to be enough? Or is it just going to turn this market into a bear flag, come up here a couple of ticks, and then reverse and head lower? That's the danger of this trade. Even though the tools are signaling across the board, it should head higher, and it well might. This might be a big trading range today. If we got the reversal now and a signal to sell it, I think that would have a little bit more structure to it. Come on, do something. Oh, man. Oh, I hope tomorrow's room isn't like this. Oh my gosh, the open house room. How are we going to spend the morning session there? It'll be a little bit tough. All right, sellers stepping up a little. Getting almost. Spoke too soon. Thought we had a little selling action going on there. We'll see. We'll see if they can break it down or if we are in fact going to get a rally. Yeah, the advanced decline not changing that much, up to 1670 on the buy and 1070 on the sell, so still kind of hovering more or less where they started the day. I don't think I've ever seen 2 days in the NASDAQ or the stock indices in general this quiet. This is crazy. Our first micro-macro cross signal here on the hawk did trip. Technically, if you took it on the hash mark, it did engage the signal. So you'd be working this trade. Stops should go below the low. This is the type of day too, you may want to dial back the risk manager a little bit. Maybe, risk 1.5 or 2 or 1 or 1.5% of your account if you are able to do that. Baby, oh baby, come on. Well, not much going on there. Okay. This current bar is going to be very important. If the market finishes bullish, we should see at least a little bit of a rally. If this bar finishes bearish, we should see prices decline somewhat. Why that bar? Well, that bar is going to either complete the bear flag and send the market lower, or it's going to continue to hold support, in which case the market should head higher. All right, so that first micro-macro cross signal starting to fall apart. Remember how I said you could short the failures of those? Well, there's one. So the scalper might be the first one to actually produce a signal. If we get a red bar buy signal here, we could short the failure of that. Good question, Ryman. Ryman's asking, does next week's turnover on the contract, could that be causing this? We're still a little bit early for that, I think. Hold on, I'll double check my rollover date. So the stock index is rolling over. It's usually the middle of the month. Where are you? Technically, it's going to be the 17th. So that's a week and a half. Yeah, next week. No, it shouldn't. In fact, the stock market is the kind of contract that you can trade right up to the last day if you wanted. The volume is usually that good. Honestly, I can't put my finger on it. Yeah, I know Jim's trying to get a handle on this too. He's watching oil and the DAX. Okay, well, we can't make the market do anything as much as we would like. Well, this is a very odd day, folks. All right, here comes the... Oh, we did get a soft edge sell here in the Raptor. I'm just going to punch into that. So we got, pardon me, not the soft edge sell, but the cloud crossover signal here on the Raptor. Oops, doggone it. Let's try that again. Hit the wrong button. And I'm going to put my break-even trigger just down here at the lows of the morning. And I think we're getting a comparable signal here on the Hawk. We're getting our red bar buy signal now, which we could look to sell. And we can cancel our Falcon signal. And we can cancel our Eagle signal because we're producing now a counter trend signal. And now we're waiting again. Oh, almost had some action there. just not getting the follow through. So that red bar buy signal, turns out it may have been a better buy. Just waiting for something to happen. Jim says, come on, at least test the 10 a.m. low. That's this down here where we started the day, the low of the morning. Oh my gosh, hard to believe that was an hour ago. This is all that we've generated over the course of an hour. That's crazy. Well, if things don't start loosening up here a little bit, it's not going to be much point in hanging out. You know, funny thing is, now we've seen a retest of the low. If we come here with a buy signal, it's actually going to be a soft edge buy. That doesn't help matters either when you get all these conflicting signals. It's just, I don't think I've ever seen a morning like this. See here, the eagle is going to come back with the signal. Well, we've got the warning dot anyways. We can tell if this bar prints on the high, we're going to get a signal right there at 45.31 3/4. I would probably give it a couple of ticks and enter above the high here where we were looking before at 45.32. That would be our red bar buy signal. But again, not a good signal. Not a really strong signal. You can see all the conflicting signals that we're getting here. Yeah, Jim, I don't think this is a day to trade, quite honestly. We haven't gotten a decent signal. Jim says he's getting chopped up today. It's down 45. Yeah, Jim's watching the Russell. He says the Russell's very bullish. I don't think you can get anything from any of the markets today. I really don't. They're just all over the map. All right, well, still working this red bar buy failure. Our cloud crossover signal on the Raptor. The only good news about this is we know that trading 45.32-ish is going to put us on the wrong side of the market, and it's time to get out. Here's a trend change signal brewing on the Falcon. Trend line has changed from green to red. We have our little down up, working on the down part of the pattern. if I can stay awake. Okay, we'll give it a few more minutes here, but I think we're going to close things up early. Well, here we are, chomping at the bit. There's nothing you can do with a market like today. And quite honestly, there's nothing to trade. The only reason I'm here is because of the trading room. If I sat through the first half hour of this market and I see like 6 bars go by, or 6 or 8 bars, this is not a market you want to be trading today. So on that note, yeah, exactly. Like Jim says, Eric, how can I trade a choppy market? You don't. All right, you guys, if you have any questions before we close things up, I do suspect we're going to see the market slip a little bit lower, at least to this morning's low, and perhaps even as low as, let's take a look here at the Eagle. Well, 45.08 would be very ambitious for a day like today. I think even if we look kind of here around this 45.20 mark, that would be saying a lot for such a quiet day. But I do think, you know, if you're really desperate to trade, I think you're better off on the short side. I'm with you, Jim. Jim just wants to get back to break even. Well, like I said, I think the short side has a little bit more potential, but this is just a terrible trading day. So we're going to close things up. And a reminder that tomorrow is the open house room, Wednesday's trading session. And hopefully things will shake up a little bit by then. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye for now.